So can we end this talk?
Do we have to?
I'm afraid so.
We're going to run out of film.
Probably. So can we end this by me telling you a little story
Please.
and sharing with you the best advice I've ever gotten?
Okay.
And it happened to come from you.
Oh, all right.
And fair warning, I'm reluctant to share this a little bit because it's personal. But I think it has enough value that it's worth sharing. So I will tell you a little bit about my background and some personal things in order to tell this story. So, fun fact about me, I'm adopted. And my entire life, I had a great childhood, but I always had this desire to find my birth parents. And I wanted to know who I was, my roots, where did I come from? And did you see that movie with Nicole Kidman and the guy from Slumdog Millionaire? It was called Lion.
It was on the seat next to me on a plane, so
Yeah.
I know it without the words.
It's a really good movie. If you've seen that movie, maybe you can understand a little bit how I felt. I felt a lot like him in that there was just, can't describe it to someone who's not in the situation, but I had this burning desire to find out my roots.
So hard.
Yeah. And as a teenager, I petitioned the courts for my birth records, and I got denied over and over and over again. And that only just fueled my fire. I felt it was unfair. I felt kind of violated. Like, how dare you withhold from me what's my right to have?
Yeah.
And it was very difficult. Flash forward a number of years, when the internet became more pervasive and public documents became more available, I found my birth mother, and it was the most amazing thing. Oh. And I sent her this letter, and I wrote, and included a picture, by the way, of our family. So we have 4 amazing kids, very happily married. I've got a great family, and I sent this great family photo with, wearing our best. And I wrote a note that said something like, this may come to a shock, but I found you, and I just wanted to say thank you. I want to say thank you for doing probably the most selfless thing anyone could ever do.
Wow.
Which is, a shot at a better life for me.
That's so generous, yeah.
And so I sent that letter, and it also said, if you want contact, I would be more than happy to have a phone call or come meet you. I'm thrilled that I found you after this, 25-year, 30-year search. And I got a letter back. And just to give you a little context, when you're adopted, your mind goes to the edges of the extreme.
Of course.
Right? You think, is my dad Steve Jobs? Like, is there some inheritance waiting for me someplace that I should know about? Or is my mom or dad some famous, rock musician or athlete? And so it goes that way. And it also goes to the other side of the spectrum, which is, am I the product of a violent crime?
Right.
And then everything between. And so I would say the not knowing is the most difficult part. Anyway, so I did get a letter back, and it was from a very proper, looked like a proper organization. It was some sort of firm, and I thought, Steve Jobs probably is my dad. Like, it was like a Dumbledore is bequeathing, the resurrection stone.
But this whole thing sounds so wrenching.
So I opened it, and it said, dear Mr. Elliott, we're in receipt of your letter, and our client does admit that she is your biological mother, but wants no contact. Oh. And this is our official putting you on notice that if you have any further correspondence, we will not hesitate to file
Oh, I'm so sorry.
restraining order against you. And it was a sucker punch.
Yeah.
I was devastated. I was crushed. I mean, I was pissed too. But I was crushed. And it was very difficult. And I probably kind of felt sorry for myself for a little bit. And this was right around the time that I quit a perfectly good job and I left the studios. I was at Universal Pictures for a while, and I decided to start this production company. And it was a time right around 2008, 2009 where you wrote Tribes. It was the first time that I reached out to you. It was a very difficult time. You know, the recession. We were in the heart of the recession. We were knee deep. I was struggling to keep my family afloat. You were very nice. I reached out to you, but you rejected me too a couple times. Like, I don't know who you are. I'm not interested in coming.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm getting to the point of this lesson.
I'm here
this bit of
today.
advice. Well, so I persisted. I was tenacious. I didn't give up, and I kept chipping away, and tried to communicate. And you were very receptive and very nice and gracious. And finally, about a year and a half later, you agreed to come to one of these meetings for the first time. This was like 2009, heading into 2010, and so you came and you sat down with me and you talked, and you were a human being, and you took the time. And do you remember what you told me? You remember that advice that you gave me?
It's out of context.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry.
I don't expect you to remember, and that's okay. But I told you about how I was struggling, and you said to me, I'll never forget it. You said, Bryan, there's no Prince Charming in this story. There's no rescue boats. No one's coming. Stop waiting to get picked. You're not going to get scooped up. It's waiting to get rescued. And that just pierced my heart like no other. And I, in that moment, my whole point of view changed. I realized that I was playing the victim. I felt like one. I mean, rightfully so in some regards. But what you told me, that no one's coming, no one's going to rescue me, I need to save myself, changed that point of view into being like a survivor, right? To continue to push forward, to not give up. I changed my life.
Wow.
So I want to thank you for that.
Well, don't thank me. This is you.
So there is a bit of a happy ending.
There's more than a bit of a happy ending. You have a happy family. You're doing incredibly generous, productive work that's seen by millions of people around the world.
Well, there's that, but so I also persisted, and I didn't assume that because I failed once, I would fail again. I decided maybe there's another outcome. I kept looking for my dad, and I found him. And last year, me and my whole family got to meet my dad, who was much more receptive, and figured that one day I would call. And I found out that I have 2 younger sisters, and we all got to meet in this big happy family reunion. Turns out we're Jewish on my dad's side.
Mazel tov.
Yeah. So I guess that's maybe a good place to end.
Bada boom.